Change the face of the entertainment industry. Production companies are looking to hire you on AccessRealWorld.ca, North America's largest hiring and networking database for Canadian Black, Indigenous, and people of color creatives. Get hired at AccessRealWorld.ca.
Chantel Riley is a Canadian-Jamaican singer, songwriter, and actress known for her lead role as Trudy Clarke in the Canadian hit series Frankie Drake Mysteries. She also starred as Angela Cooke alongside Suits veteran Gina Torres in the Suits spinoff series Pearson. Vinessa Antoine is best known for various roles such as Judith Winters in the CBC comedy drama Being Erica, Jordan Ashford in the ABC soap opera General Hospital, and Marcie Diggs in the CBC drama Diggstown.
What up, girl?
How are you?
I'm good. I like your hair. You look great.
We're both rocking
Come
platinum.
on, let's go.
Winter platinum.
Absolutely. So I'm curious about your journey here as an actor. So why don't you start off and just tell us your origin story?
Oh, goodness, where do we start? Well, I've been doing this for a while now, but I didn't have any intentions of being in the business, to be honest with you. I was a dancer, classically trained, and that was kind of my focus for much of my childhood and going into high school. I did a lot of like theater and musical theater, but I was always really focused on going to school and dancing. And it wasn't until I got to New York and I ended up going to Alvin Ailey and just being sort of immersed in this crazy New York world. I started to get more of the bug, of acting again. But I really always saw myself as someone who was, sort of behind the scenes.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was that child. I was the child that was like, when you go to a party as an adult and they're the kids that will like come in, stop the party because they have curated a whole show that everyone has to sit down and watch.
Yes.
That was me.
I love it. I was the same way.
Thank God that my parents were the kind of parents that they are, because I'm sure looking back in hindsight now that I'm the adult, I'm sure everybody was like, vibing and probably drunk and like, who are these kids now? Upstairs, I've already choreographed a whole show with all of the kids.
Absolutely.
Now everybody's sitting. They're like,
yes.
Happening? I'm like, lights down. I'm like, music.
Sound up. That is so funny. I used to do that too.
Really?
I danced when I was younger and did like dance competitions and stuff like that. Yeah. And I would get my cousins, my little sister, and we would be 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go.
Yeah.
Choreographing numbers or being asked to sing in front of family for Christmas time. Like, so I guess it's from a young age. We were just out here in the streets being performers and had no idea.
No idea. I didn't realize that was going to be sort of my life calling, but I had a long sort of journey of coming to this place, of going to New York, leaving the dance world, then sort of getting thrown into the theater world. And I'm not trained. I didn't go to theater school, or I learned on the job. And so I kind of really just was experiencing and taking in as much as I could from the people that I was around.
Right.
And so that sort of bled into like me taking more classes and eventually getting an agent who then saw something in me. And I was like, she was like, you have to go to LA. And it was just a lot of really interesting experiences right off the top. Being young and like being in these spaces, with people that were already established and so green, So taught me a lot.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you?
Yeah, I actually had like a similar thing. I mean, I wasn't trained either. I mean, I grew up, I used to dance when I was younger and then sang in the church for a really long time. And then a friend of mine, her name's Olanike, and she was like, hey, there's an open casting call for The Lion King. You should go check it out. And at that time, I was actually, out of university working as an auto insurance adjuster for an insurance company.
Okay.
And I remember just going to these auditions and getting callbacks and literally taking like 2-hour lunch breaks and hoping that my manager wouldn't notice I was gone to go to these callbacks.
Right.
Which then eventually led to me booking my first gig as Nala in The Lion King in Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was my first like major gig, apart from McDonald's commercials, from my first TV booking I ever got.
Yes.
But then we went over to Germany for a year, and then just like you, just like immersed in all these people that have been doing this for years. I've never studied musical theater or anything like that, and so this is my first time performing on stage like this. I used to dance on stage, but like singing and acting, I'd never done that before, apart from like church plays.
Right.
Church plays fire. Don't get me wrong. At least to cantatas. I'm grateful. You gotta start somewhere.
Yes.
But like, yeah, just like you, just being surrounded by these professionals and these people that have been doing it so long. And then from there, I got to do the same role on Broadway for 4 years. And of course, like, New York is like a whole nother world. And so they say if you make it there, you can make it anywhere. So I'm grateful to have spent that time in New York. I feel like it's really toughened me up and, gave me some thicker skin, because being in that world and being with other actors on Broadway that have been doing it for like 15 plus years.
Right.
And here I come like, hey guys. So Broadway, huh? What's that about? I had no idea. Who are you? Why is it so cool? Like, until I was in it and being like, okay, this is a whole other level. And compare like theater compared to TV and film, I'm sure you could agree, is just completely different beast.
Well, that was going to be my next question for you, which is like, how did you find the transition from theater to television, and what were some of the, things that you loved about it, hated about it, challenges,
Yeah. It's funny. Like I started taking classes too while I was in New York, because like I knew I wanted to do TV as well and film, but I didn't know how. And I knew that stage acting is completely different from TV acting. You can't be acting all big and extra on the camera if you're like ready to bring that down. And so taking those classes really helped me internalizing a lot more and understanding the character and trying to emote that without having to be so extra. And so now at this time, I had an agent at this point now and was doing all these auditions. And I booked my first film called Race. It was the Jesse Owens biopic. Yeah. And I remember that moment, I was like, just before hitting set for the first time, I was like, this is amazing. I love this. The setups, the camera, the lighting. And although TV is challenging and it's long hours,
right?
Theater is just, I'm glad I started in theater. I'm so glad I started in theater, because the training that I got from that, 8 shows a week, every day, trying to make your show fresh every night. Yes. And being on stage, you can't mess up because it's live.
Right.
Whereas I'm on the set and I'm like, oh shoot, I missed my line. Oh, right. Okay, we'll just start it over again. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a little bit of relief.
It is. I mean, I have to say, I found it a little bit opposite for me. I wasn't doing musical theater. I don't sing, although in my mind I can. I sing really dope though in the shower.
Yes.
No, it's so, I'm Solange. Like, that's just
absolutely
tone deaf. but I found doing straight plays, I was cast really early on doing a lot of sort of one-act plays, really small, sort of hole-in-the-wall theaters, 99-seat theaters, and approaching the work from such a, a very organic way. I think that was like one of the first lessons that I learned when I was watching the other actors that were in the play. We were just like at the first table reading and started the rehearsal process. And, one of the ways that he was going through the beats and the lines of the play was just so simple, no emotion. He was really just reading it and having it sort of land on him in the way that it landed on him, finding things in the moment. And there's such a long, beautiful, organic process that you get to work with when you do a play.
Yes.
And there's so many words and there's so much rehearsal, and you're just completely engulfed in this. Like you said, you're doing 8 shows a week. So you're finding so many things, as you move along. But I learned, okay, well, you approach it from this sort of really small, organic place and letting things happen rather than force it, rather than performing. And so when I ended up booking a movie called The Best Man, which some people know. And, I booked it and then got recast. I know it was like my first gig. But I mean, I was there at the table reading, I'm leaning over and asking Sanaa Lathan for her highlighter to highlight.
Yes.
Looking. Terrence Howard's there. I mean, everyone was there. And I had never been in a situation like that before, proper table reading where, I think the studio was on speakerphone in the center of the table. Yeah. Execs were there. Everyone was there. And because I was approaching my work from, we're going to find it.
Right.
I was not in full performance mode.
Got it.
So, but they were fully in it. And vibing. And I was just like, let's find it.
Right.
Long story short, they were like, we're going to be recasting. And of course, I lost the role. But it taught me such a huge lesson.
Wow.
There's just different ways of working, and depending on the project, depending on the director, depending on the money, depending on the time, you have to find what's the most truthful and the best for you at that time. And for me, it was not the right decision.
So you didn't think like, okay, while they were, they're in it and whatever, you didn't think like, oh shoot, maybe I need to switch it up? Or
I thought about it, but because I was so nervous about being inauthentic and coming across as fraudulent, that's always so important to me, is to be as authentic as I can. And I didn't want my first experience with all of these people to feel like I was putting something on. I just wanted to be like, cool, and like, we'll find it.
That'd be cool. Dang.
Yeah. But I learned a really great lesson, and
yeah.
Long story short, like, I don't think I would have been able to do the part because it was the role of a stripper. And I think my dad would have been like,
there's also that.
Didn't want my first role to be a stripper.
Dad, I made it.
I made it. That's what you go to New York for?
Right. Really? Tell me about your journey. You did a soap opera, General Hospital.
I did.
Tell me about that. What's the soap life like?
It's so funny because when I was in New York, there was a lot of soap operas that were being shot there at the time. Soap operas down to like, there's like 4 big ones now, but before there were so many, and they were all shot in New York. And I used to be the kind of person that was like, you know what? If I ever, get to a point where, I just want like a normal life, if there is such a thing, where I could like be a family woman and also act, be home at a reasonable time, get a decent paycheck, and have like consistent work.
Yeah.
Soap opera would be it.
Right.
And fast forward years later, I literally was that. I was a single mom struggling in LA.
Wow.
To her bills, to feed her children, and had come off of being Erica, had come off of some other shows, but still finding it so difficult just to like make it, make ends meet.
Right.
And so, this is just real talk here. Like, woman, I was like, okay, I will go out for this audition, not thinking for a second that I would actually book it. I was like, I've had no auditions for 6 months. Let's just do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I barely, like, I think I put myself on tape and like, at night with like a flashlight or something.
Wow.
Hair.
Wow.
And sure enough, I booked it.
Wow.
And, looking back in hindsight now, when I think, about the process, I was on the show for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It is such an amazing medium. I think every actor should try, because it's a very specific kind of way of working, because so much of it is melodrama. The stakes have to go from 0 to 100 very quickly.
Yeah.
You only get one crack at it.
Mm-hmm.
One crack, I really mean it is truly one take. It's not like, oh, we'll try it at this angle. They've already got all of your angles
covered. Yeah.
4 cameras. You've got your tight, your medium, your wide, this angle, and you're not doing 7 or 8 or 10 pages for the day, with a series of scenes with different actors. You're doing sometimes 30 pages a day. Woo! Just 30 to 60,
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you had to be on your ish.
On your game. And it taught me to use a different muscle.
For sure.
And, I don't love using, which is like, I don't love memorizing lines. I don't love, concocting results that are fraudulent. And and everything there is tick, 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 tock.
Yeah.
So, but I will say now it's like, now I'll get an audition, or even when I got Diggstown,
right,
I wasn't like, oh my God, it's going to be so crazy. Like, I was like, so we're going to do 12 pages for the day.
Girl, and here I'm like, 12 pages. Oh, this day's going to go on forever. Like, oh my God. 30 pages. That must have been like this for you.
At the end, listen, I was with some of those vets, the women and the men on that show that have been working on the show for like, decades.
Yes.
They were coming in with
ready.
Like barely even read the script, like memorized while they're getting their hair done, coming in talking with rollers in their hair, being like, okay, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying that, change this. And then getting it in one take and moving. Wow. And when I say moving on, we are moving on where like the lights on the stage come down, all of the cameras are on wheels and they slide over to the next set. And that's it for you for the day, sweetie. You go to your dressing room and you go home. They don't even like knock on your door. You just hear like an announcement of like, your character number or whatever. Please come to the stage for blocking. And then you come up, you do it, and you go home.
Wow. That's crazy.
There's no direction, but it's cool because I almost would go back just to like use it as a gym. It's like
sharpen that tool again. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah,
that's so cool. Because it's funny that you say you need to come in a dressing room, because I'm usually the type to do the same thing. Like I feel like being on Frankie is my first television series, and so that's where the muscles kind of started for me with memorizing and stuff. I tell people all the time, I have a great short-term memory now after working on that show. Yes. But the long-term, don't ask me what happened about 2 years ago. I don't know. I have no space. I have no space for that.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you're able to just like build that now. Like you said, doing Diggstown was just like, and that's, of course, being the lead. So you're pretty much in like every scene and talking to everybody and all of that.
But I've gotten, I think every single time, every season, I always feel completely like a fish out of water. I feel I'm completely insecure. Most of the prep is just me talking myself into like reassuring myself that I can even do it. Like there's so much prep that happens with my nerves and making sure that I'm ready to go. But it's definitely, it has changed the way that I have thought about a lot of things in the business, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, especially, you know, you having your own show in Canada is huge. You know, being a Black woman, and you know, I'm sure we've seen on Canadian television, there's not much representation for us. You know, it's Black people, and you know, thank God now we have the Porter that just came out. Shout out to the Porter, the cast, the team. It looks incredible, and it's so refreshing to be like, oh, there I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, this dude looks like my dad. You know, and they're all leads, and the cast, the crew, you know, was great mixture of people of color. So like that is something to celebrate, and your show is something to celebrate. Like, so how was that like for you, you know, getting this offer to do this show, you know, in regards to how we know Canadian television to typically look like?
Right. You know, it's and I appreciate you saying that. I think that, like you said, shows like The Porter, when you see, you know, so many beautiful Black people on the screen, it is so nice to see. But I do feel like, I just had a conversation about this with a friend of mine about, you know, the lack of representation, or the way that I think particularly Black women have been portrayed over the years. And I grapple with so many parts of that, and that is a much larger conversation. But I think that there is something to say about the appreciation and the sort of respect and viewpoint of what someone would deem as important, beautiful, relevant, amuse, whatever you want to call it. And it's so evident when you see such like specific choices with certain films or certain shows or certain directors. You can tell that person or that director truly loves Black women. Or you can tell there's something about the choices in the way that they're even framed up, the stories they're choosing to tell, how they're choosing to showcase, really is so evident. It tells me, someone, when I'm looking at it from a different viewpoint now, I start to think like, what do you think about Black women? And what do you think about Black people? How are you showing us? Are you showing us as beautiful people? Are we someone that you deem as like, you know, I don't want to use the word muse, but you can tell when someone finds someone very interesting, the way that they're written.
They take their time with it.
Their time with it. And I think it just has to kind of be in you. That you can learn or try to force or try to like, you know, what's the word? Sort of shove this sort of like idea within a white space. I hope I'm making sense, but it's like, there is something to like, when you watch a film like Queen and Slim. There's a beauty and appreciation there where you're like, this person loves us. They get how to, you know what I mean? Versus someone who is like, we need to fill a quota. So let's bring on, you know, a person of color. You know, and
definitely tell
world, you know,
absolutely,
like without filling them out with like, well, where does the person come from? And
in
other languages, where did they grow up?
What
is their experience? It's sort of we'll just stick a Black person right here. You know, so.
That is so true. I felt like, I definitely felt like I've encountered that before too. Is working, it's like, okay, well then who? Okay, thanks. You know, give me this part, but like, who is she? Like, what is her story? Am I just being used?
Right.
To be that quota, you know, and especially now with the rush of like inclusion, POCs, you know what I'm saying? We got to get us in there.
Right.
It's like, well, how much of it is actually genuine, and how much of it do you actually have people in the writing room even that look like us, that can relate to us, that could tell these stories? Because I've been in situations where it's like, okay, I'm here, but I don't really see anybody else here that looks like me.
And I can't be mad at it anymore. I mean, I think for a long time I was just like, we've got to make changes and we've got to do this thing and we've got to get a seat at the table and we've got to and fight. And then I started thinking, like, if you're just not a person that's interested in our stories, or you're just not a person that's, you know, has a world that is, you know, filled with these kinds of things that you want to tell, then you're just not that kind of person. I can't, that's just who you are. Right. So now when I find people or see people or conversate with people that actually genuinely are interested in doing that, those are people that I tend to like edge up on.
What's up? Yeah. How you doing?
I don't want to force anyone to do something they don't want to do. I don't want to be an embarrassing girl where it's like, please include me. It's like, people that are genuinely wanting to tell these kinds of stories. I'm like,
absolutely. And that's why I think it's so important to have more space and to allow more opportunities for people of color as creatives, as writers, as directors, you know, producers, especially producers, executive producers, to tell these stories. I feel like I have run into a lot of even people from talent from Canada, Black talent especially, who are out here on Instagram posting their own stories that they film at their crib with their phone or whatever. For example, my great friend Crystal Rose, she's out here writing her own scripts and shooting her own mini films or mini series, and people are watching it and just loving it. But it's like, who do we talk to and how do we get people like her to get an opportunity with the CBC or Bell Media or, you know, any other production company? Who is going to allow people like her or us to tell these stories?
Right.
How do we get, not to say seat at the table, but like, how do we make our own table?
Right. You know well, I think there's a lot of, it's going to be a lot of branches on that tree to help that happen. I don't think it's one singular way. I think that it's going to be people that have an awareness, not necessarily Black people, that are you know, wanting to open up that door and have those conversations and call things out. And it's also like people like you and I who are like already working and having the wherewithal to know, like, okay, well, I'm here at this place. I should introduce you to someone else, and I should bring on someone else, and not feel like, oh, this person's going to take my job, and there's only one room for one Black girl on the show, or whatever it is. I think it's, you know, just speaking up and saying, hey, you really should talk to this person. He's a dope ass DP. He's not in the union, but like, you should check out his work, and like just ushering in people, you know.
Yes, that's so important. Yeah, of course, just bringing everyone on. I feel like, you know, it's so tough in this industry. We are competing. I'm sure we've gone up for the same roles for, you know, certain things too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but there's no time to harbor any kind of bitterness or jealousy. It's like, yes, girl, I celebrate you for booking that part. But also, like you said, let's bring some other people along with us. Who else can I talk to? If there's someone telling me about a project, I'm like, oh, shoot, let me hit up so-and-so and let them know about this project or introduce you to this person. And like you said, just kind of pass it along.
For sure. I like, you know, that's one of the things. I had a conversation with our Canada's beautiful Julie Black, who is my heart. she's just a dope,
amazing
human, just real, she's just a real person. And that was one of the conversations. We had many conversations about this business and her story. But one of the things that her and I talked about is like, there is nothing that you could do, even if you studied me like a book and became obsessed with me and emulated everything that I did. There is literally nothing that you could do in your power to become me. Full stop.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes.
So I know what I bring to the table. I'm confident in that. I'm not like stressed about you somehow like shaking that up, because I know who I am.
Right.
And there's that's come over the years for me, where I'm like, even if I tried like everything in my power to become this person, I'm still going to be me, and you can never be me.
That's it. Period. Period. And what's for you is for you. What's
for you is for you.
And so it's not about, it's easy to get caught up, especially in the age of social media, the Instagrams, the Facebooks. Oh, this person is doing this, or this person just booked this. It's easy to get caught up in other people's lives and be like, damn.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Where's mine? You know what I mean? Right. But it's that constant mind. And that's even something I have to do for myself of what's for me is meant for me. And that's it. God can't take away, or no one else can take away, what's actually meant and designed for me.
Yes. Yeah.
So in the meantime, let me just do what I got to do. Put in that work.
Put in that
work. My own thing. You know what I'm saying? Write my own show or whatever it has to be in order to, get what's mine, essentially. Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. So let me ask you about, I know you said you've always thought you'd do like behind the scenes and stuff. And I know this has been a struggle for me. I'm sure you've struggled with it as well. Our lovely hair and makeup experiences.
And when you say lovely, clarify.
That's me being nice, honey.
I had to take a drink.
I'm sure you've had some hair and makeup experiences, being that you've been in the game as long as you have, where, hey, you know what? They just didn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
Did you used to like come to set with your own like makeup bag or your hair stuff?
Yep. To this day. To this day.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah.
And I have to say, things are absolutely changing. So I don't want to say that, we're back there still.
Right. Right.
And I'll give you an example. So these braids that I have in my hair, I did not do these braids myself, and I'm working on another show.
Yes.
I auditioned for the show with my natural hair.
Uh-huh.
I did a self-tape, as we've all been doing self-tapes. And then a couple of days later, I was watching a movie and I was like, I'll put some chunky braids in my hair, because I can braid my own hair. Like a lot of people can braid their own hair, and a lot of people can do your own hair.
Yes.
So I just like sat and put in like a few just big, thick, chunky braids. With protective style. I was like, I'm never gonna hear from that audition, and it's the weekend coming up, and I just want to do like a little oil treatment on my hair.
Right.
Keep it real.
Right.
And then it was a Thursday, and then I auditioned for something else where the braids worked. It was like some DC comic thing or whatever. I was like, oh, this could work for this superhero.
Yeah.
Right. So I put myself on tape for that. And then I got a call back for the first original thing where I had my natural hair.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, when are we gonna do the callback? And they said, we don't know yet, but it's looking like next week. So I was like, perfect. Weekend vibes. I'll take the braids out, wash, deep condition, be ready for my callback Zoom.
Right.
Sure enough, that night they said, actually, the callback is gonna be tomorrow. And so I already still had the braids in. And I was like, well, they're just going to have to get me with the braids. So right. I mean, I'm not going to stress myself. So I did the audition and I booked the role. And I came to set to just do like a COVID test and whatever. And they said, you know, hair and makeup wanted to check, just see you. And I was like, okay, cool. They said they liked the braids. And now the braids were looking rough at this point. A week later, and I'm not a professional braider by any means. It's like me messing around in my house.
Right.
She was like, your braids look fantastic. Do you do them yourself? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I put these in, but like, they're like me. So you'll be coming to set with them ready to go on the day. Meanwhile, everyone's looking, all eyes on me now. I'm like, everybody's turning in their chairs. Suddenly it's silent. And I'm like, yeah, I'll have them ready.
Totally.
And I was like, I felt pressured. And I this is such a long-winded story to say that by the time I got back into my car on the way home, I was like, I don't want to do my own braids.
Right.
I don't want to do that the night before. I don't want to have, I can do them if I'm just like hanging out at home, if I'm going on a date or hanging out, but like to have a 360 vision on television with the camera, I'm not equipped.
Right.
The parting is not going to be cute.
No. So they're expecting you to do that yourself.
Yeah, I was like, and then it was me speaking up in that moment, even though I'd already agreed to do it. 20 minutes later, the realization of it, I was like, I'm not going to stay in this space of having to do something I don't want to do and that I shouldn't do. And and it wasn't something that they were thinking about. I just simply asked for what I wanted, which is like, if you guys would like me to have braids, please provide someone that can do the braids.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And they absolutely did. But they weren't thinking that. And I don't think they were like trying to mess with me. I just don't think it was in their head.
Right.
But to me, it seems so like common sense. Like if it just feels common sense to me, like no person on the planet that is working in front of the camera as an actress, you can go on a cute date and like put some cute, like pop some curls in your hair, but you never trust that person to now be on national television doing it.
No, I'm not a stylist. I'm not a hairstylist. I remember a certain show that I did where they wanted to do this, like, you know, whatever kind of style, and they're trying to use some sort of extensions to create this look. And at the time I had my natural hair, big afro, whatever. And they pull out this, like, you know those like dollar store clip-ins that look like Barbie hair? And like, yeah, we're just gonna like do like this, woody wop, braid it into the hair, and it's this doesn't match. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, how do you expect to? Okay, bet. She's like, let me try to find something else. Then she comes back something else, and it's the whole like dreadlock.
Yikes.
And I said, so this is what you think? Okay, I'll let you do your thing. Going forward though, I said, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for you. Because I feel like you might need a little help. So I'm gonna help you out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come to set ready and prepared for you. And that was a choice that I had to make, because I'm like, clearly this person doesn't feel comfortable enough to work with natural hair. And I purposely showed up with natural hair because I'm like, these people need to understand the importance of knowing how to do all types of hair. And a lot of people in the industry don't train on how to learn natural hair and how to treat it or comb it or style it. They don't know. And so I purposely put them in that position because I wanted to see what they could do. And clearly they weren't trained enough to like fully execute. And so I said, let me help you out. I'm gonna come to set with my hair already done, or at least like 90%. And if you need to attach a little ponytail to it, then you do that. And if it's just touch-ups, we'll go from there. And that's what I did. going forward, I would come to set with my hair pretty much done. Like I sent a picture and be like, okay, this is the hair I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking for this episode. What do you think? Oh, great. Okay, great. And I would show up to set already done pretty much. And if it's, like I said, attachment, boop, you pin it in there and then we're good to go.
Boop.
But right. All right. But here we go. Ready to set. But that's what it was. And it's sad because I shouldn't have to do that.
Well, tell me, how was your experience, with hair, but also just your experience on Frankie Drake and booking that? Because the costuming and the hair and the makeup is so specific and so beautiful.
Yes.
It's such it's a period vibe,
Absolutely. I'm so grateful that we had the team that we did because, the first season was a different group of ladies who are incredible team. They are all Black actually, and I was like,
nice.
Hallelujah. First season, I was feeling comfortable in that chair. I was like, yes, I know it looks good.
Yeah.
But, the team changed out on the continuing seasons. However, they were all very professional and they knew what they were doing, and I felt comfortable. And if there was anything that I could suggest, they were open to suggestions.
Yeah.
There was no like hard feelings or I know what I'm doing or anything like that. They're very open because, especially with hair, Cindy Lou, who was actually nominated for Frankie Drake for hair.
Yeah.
And then Kathy, who was nominated for makeup for Frankie Drake, they were very open. And if I had any suggestions, they were very willing to hear me out because they knew how important it was for me as a Black woman to not go in front of the camera and look crazy. Right. To make sure the wig was not wiggy and it was styled properly and that you couldn't see the lace or the tracks or you know what I'm saying, those little things, and that my edges were, laid and all that other stuff. And then but even bringing stuff for myself, I'm like, hey, this is the product that I use to lay my edges. Maybe we should give it a shot. And they would be more than happy to do that. Or, you know what, Kathy, I found this really dope Black owned product, makeup line. I would love for us to use it on camera. Yeah, sure, no problem. You know what I mean? And so they're very open with that. I'm so glad because that was like 4 seasons. You know what I'm saying? So like I can't be out here looking a mess. Can't do it. You can't do it.
It's hopefully it's a small but big part of the picture, and
yeah,
I think as soon as we can start moving away from that being the focus of like the struggle, because it's it's one slice in the pie. It's like, oh, I don't have to worry about like the same relief that you felt, so focus on the work and
absolutely
all of the other components of making a show, which I'm finding out are a lot more than just the actor.
Honey.
Hello.
It's so much deeper than that, honey. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful to have been on that show and to work with people that were very open and confident with working with me. Did you find any kind of struggle working on where did you guys film Diggstown? What was that shot again?
In Scotia.
In Scotia, yeah. So what was that like? Did they bring a team in, or did they have locals working?
They had locals. Mm-hmm. It was definitely an uphill battle.
Yeah.
There were some struggles. I think that we found a cool place to land on that works. I think it's still an ever-changing struggle that we're going to be figuring out for this next coming season.
Right.
But for me, I'm not going to really worry about it anymore.
Right.
Just because like I know how I like that character is not me anymore, and I sort of took myself out of it, and I took myself out of like feeling like we're this one person. If this is how this character is going to be portrayed, then that's how it's going to be portrayed. I don't look anything like that in my day to day when I do my own hair, so I'm like, y'all figure it out.
Right.
There's all these great questions here.
You know, I'm kind of grateful for this new COVID-19 world that we're in, partly because I don't have to go in a room to audition anymore. I still get very nervous entering a room for an audition, but now that we get to do them via Zoom, it's a little less anxious for me. So yes, I still do get nervous, but not as nervous as being there in person. And as for preparing, I mean, I take at least, you know, some time to sit down and memorize the lines and just go through the script as much as I can and try to understand the character as much as I can. And, you know, you're only given like what, 2 scenes, 3 the max, to try to fully understand who this person is or what their story is. And I try to just go through each beat and understand what they could possibly be feeling in that moment. Even as far as reading the stage directions, like what's happening the scene before, or what's happening, where are they, what time of day is it? All those little minor things really help to prepare you for what you're going to say and what you're going to feel in that moment.
I'm fast. I'm listening because I'm like, wow, I'm having such a you know, I'm just going to be real. I'm having a really difficult time with the auditions, I have to say. It was especially during COVID and all of the Zoom stuff. Still haven't quite figured it out. I definitely enjoy going in the room. I like that process. I have my thing that I like to do in preparation of even driving to the location. Like there's things that I like to do. This has put me so deep in my head and so like bogged me down in such a way where I'm still struggling to come out of it for sure. And I get a lot of auditions and it will take me a very long time to get them out. I think it's different for every actor. I think there's some people that really right out of the gate without any training just have something, and you know, I don't know. I can't really call that one. I think that is just, it's about where you are as an artist and where you feel you are in terms of like the craft and, you know, the role. Like there was the actor who plays Fez on Euphoria. He had never worked before a day in his life. And he's doing such beautiful work now. So I think it just depends on who you are and where you feel you are.
I just, I was, like I was telling Vinessa earlier, like I went to those open casting calls and then a friend of mine was like, hey, let me introduce you to my agent. And I guess getting those castings and, you know, getting as close as I did for the booking made the agent kind of have some kind of interest. And then I put myself on tape and submitted it to them, I guess, to see something else so they could see what's going on. But I didn't have any formal training before becoming an actor. Kind of just, the door just opened and I walked through, thank God, and got most of my experience just firsthand. But yeah, I don't know. I would say just, why not just give it a shot? Like you never know. You really just don't know. And unless you just do it, you're gonna just keep restraining yourself from the possibility of it happening. So just dive in, honey. Oh man, I was in LA and I just finished taking an acting class out there. And I was like, man, is this thing ever gonna happen for me? It was also during pilot season. So you get all these auditions and you're in a big place like Los Angeles, thinking that you're gonna book some big, you know, US network show. And then lo and behold, here comes Frankie Drake Mysteries, Canadian series, CBC. I said, boom, let's give it a shot, see what happens. And I remember getting called in for a chemistry read with Lauren Lee Smith and was like, well, hey, I don't know what's going to happen after this, but hey, you never know. And it was when I was back in LA and I got the call that I got the gig, and it was a moment. I was my best friend. I'm there, like, I bust into her room, girl, I booked the party for my first TV show. I'm crying, she's crying, we're all excited. You know, I was like, man, this is a big break. This is the moment. And I was scared. Of course, immediately you're like, oh shoot, can I actually do this thing? And then, you know, all those scary thoughts. But it was a very, very exciting moment. I'm very grateful for it.
I didn't think that I was gonna get it. I just, because I remember in the audition, I did it. I was so nervous, and I was prepared, and I did it. But then I felt good leaving the audition, and I had my little parking ticket, and I went to go upstairs. It was in LA. You had to go like park upstairs. I took the elevator up to pay the ticket guy. I'm shaking. I almost throw my sides in the garbage, because that's my little ritual when I finish an audition, is like chuck them, because I don't want to deal with it anymore. And I'm like, all right, well, it's up to you now, God. And I was going upstairs, and up the stairs, the reader from the audition is booting it up the stairs. She's out of breath. She's like, they want you to go back in the room and do it again. And I was like, what? No. And I'm like, what? No. And I'm like, it was like, there were so many thoughts that came in my head. I was like, oh my God. And I went back in, and they gave me a note, and I was so petrified, because I kind of let it go at that point, right? Yeah. And I remember the casting director, beautiful note that he gave me. I was so nervous. I turned my back to the camera, and I was just like breathing in, and I was like, oh my God, the anxiety. Like, if I take longer to start, they're going to think that I'm green. If I, you know, like, what is that? And I remember the note he gave me was like, Vinessa, take your time.
Wow.
Best beautiful gift I could ever. And I took that moment. You know what? If they don't cast me, at least I'm going to take this moment. Anyway, fast forward, when I found out that I got it, I was like fraudulent when I realized that I got the role. Like, I was like doing the thing. I was like, yeah, I got it. Didn't really even click in until like 2 days later. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Okay. Ooh, that's good. I was able to work because of can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I think Jordan just
oh, thanks. Because of The Lion King, when I did Lion King on Broadway. So I had gotten a visa through Disney theatrical. And so that visa was specifically for Disney, which means I couldn't do any other work. So even if I wanted to audition for TVs, whatever, I couldn't do it. I actually wasn't allowed. So it was during that time that I said, you know what, let me apply for a green card. And then applied for the green card, got my green card, and now was able to work wherever I wanted. And if I wanted to work in a movie theater right now and sell popcorn, I could. So it was one of those situations. I had to start with the Disney visa and then apply on my own for my green card.
So yeah, I finagled some things.
Yes.
And I was working illegally for a long time. I'm going to be real. Like, so nobody really talks about this, but I was in the States without papers for a long time. I was there as a student. Then that student visa ran out, and I continued on my grind. Then I had an agent. I found an agent, thank God, a manager who then sponsored me, which then got me. And I redid that 01 visa probably like 3 times, you know, until finally my lawyer, my immigration lawyer, was like, you're at the point where you could probably just go for the green card. And that's what I did. But I got to be real. Like, I mean, so many they're not legit right off the top. So I'm just coming from a different place. If anybody's out there wanting to do it, you don't have to always go by the book. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, I endorse that message, honey. Do what you need to do, honey.
They're going to do what they're going to do. Trust and believe.
What's up, girl? Yes, yes, yes.